on the voting push. We've heard a lot from the president talking about Republican-controlled states taking actions to limit ease of access to the polls. I'm wondering, election laws we know differ from state jurisdiction to jurisdiction. Has the president ever reached out to Democratic states, states like New York that don't have early in-person voting, or New Jersey or Delaware that have some different laws that exist, maybe down south, and called and encouraged them to loosen their voting laws to bring them in line with some of the restrictions he's objecting to being rolled back right now?
Well, I think the president's view on expanding access to voting, whether it's the expansion of early voting or the number of mail-in voting boxes, steps we know works to increase the participation of people in the process, is something it's very well known that he strongly supports. The DNC typically does a lot of the outreach on election implementation, but I don't think it's a secret where the president stands, and certainly you heard him say that earlier this week and convey it again on Capitol Hill today.
Could you talk about, give us a few details of what the back and forth was like with the president and the senators at the lunch? He sounded pretty frustrated when he came out.
I think he sounded passionate. That's what I saw and heard. Look, I think the president conveyed directly to the caucus what many people heard him say across the country a couple of days ago, that now we face a systematic effort to dismantle democracy, not just voter suppression, but subversion. You heard him say that when he came out and spoke after he left the meeting. He conveyed that this is a historic chance to save our democracy, need to protect the fundamental form of American government. And his view is this should absolutely be bipartisan. I know we've talked a bit about the history of Senator McConnell's support multiple times over, writing about it in his book for voting rights in the past. There are 16 Republicans serving now who supported voting rights in the past. Even as the president has said, Strom Thurmond did back in the 80s. Obviously, he's not serving today, but just as an example. So that's part of the point he made. Also, I think it's important for everybody to understand that his view is that he would put his record of standing up for the history of the Senate, the institution of the Senate, the rules of the Senate up against anyone's. Democrat, Republican, anyone serving today and before then. But his view is that there are times in history, now is one of them, where you can't allow the protection of process to get in the way of protecting people's fundamental rights. That is also an argument that he made today to the caucus.
What happens now with the legislation?
Well, Leader Schumer has obviously conveyed what his plan and his path forward is, and I think members are going to have an opportunity to vote and decide and determine what side of history they want to be on. Go ahead.
Thanks, Jen. Did Senator Sinema's remarks on the floor today come as a surprise to President Biden, or had she conveyed them in private to the president or to the White House?
I'm not going to get into private conversations with any senator, including Senator Sinema.
Can you tell us the last time they spoke?
I'm not going to get into more details about private conversations.
Okay.